What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 12th Doctor Peter Capaldi story, Face the Raven. So this is the third to last episode from Series 9 of the new series. It's, I guess, the first part of the three-part finale, but I really don't consider this a three-part finale, or even really a two-part finale. I consider all three of the last episodes as kind of standalone episodes because they do all have their individual stories. They are somewhat linked to each other, but I do kind of class them as individuals. So yeah, Face the Raven I'm going to be doing on its own, and then when I eventually get to them, Heaven Sent and Hellbent will also be done individually as individual stories. So this is Face the Raven. Let's get started with the cast. So Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor, he is great here. I honestly think this is one of his best performances. Throughout most of the episode, he doesn't really have a whole lot of, awesome dialogue and awesome moments. He's just generally, he's good with what he's got and, just generally. But it's really at the end of this episode where we find out that Clara has taken the chronolock from Rigsy, and Ashilda cannot take it from her. She could only have taken it from Rigsy. She can't take it off Clara. So Clara is going to die, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, including the Doctor. And he gets so emotional. He gets super, super angry and really dark towards Ashilda, and also has a couple of snaps at Clara as well. Peter Capaldi, he plays that really, really well. He does the funny really well, but he also does the serious and especially the dark Doctor superbly. I think it's honestly the best part of his Doctor. And yeah, so the performance in that part especially was phenomenal. You've also got Jenna Louise Coleman as Clara Oswald. Now this isn't actually her last story, of course, although this is where she dies. She eventually comes back in Hellbent at the end, and she's actually kind of alive but not, but let's just forget that Hellbent doesn't exist for this episode review. That's how I like to look at it anyway. But yeah, Jenna Louise Coleman, she does a pretty good job here with what she's got, to be honest. I actually do quite, in some ways, like Clara. I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of Clara as a character, and I mean, in this episode, yeah, I mean, the main reason that she dies is because she's trying to be too much like the Doctor, and that's the part of her character that I really don't like. But I really like how this was the way that she died, in air quotes, because we've seen it all throughout all the series that she's been in, really, especially since Series 8. She is trying to be too much like the Doctor, and that inevitably gets her killed, and I think that's just brilliant, and I do think that Jenna Louise Coleman does a great job with her performance. Alright, so on to the good and the bad, starting with the good. Rigsy has a tattoo that's counting down, so basically the Doctor gets a call on his TARDIS phone. It's from Rigsy saying that he's got this tattoo, he doesn't know where it came from, he can't remember what happened the day before, and it's counting down. It's on the back of his neck, and don't know what's going on. It's an interesting kind of start to the episode, before the credits roll, and yeah, we're just like wondering what the hell is going on, and yeah, just a pretty interesting concept, I think. A trap street controlled by Ashilda, full of disguised aliens. So basically they're trying to find this trap street. They figure out that, that's got something to do with it somehow. They eventually find this street, and it turns out that Ashilda, also known as Me, but I always just call her Ashilda because Me is just an annoying name and just doesn't sound right. Ashilda is kind of in control of the street. There's all these other aliens there that are kind of disguised, and it's supposed to be the street of peace. There's no crime going on, and yeah, it's a really interesting concept, to be honest. I think it's quite interesting. There's definitely a few things in there, like, I mean, we see some like Cybermen and some other just random aliens. I think we see Jadoon in there. There's a few aliens that we see. It's mainly the Cybermen though that I'm thinking, how can they be? It just doesn't seem right. They are peaceful, but I mean, I don't know. We've seen some different Cybermen here and there. There's the odd one that their emotional inhibitors don't work properly, and they're still kind of the person they used to be. So maybe that's got something to do with it. It's a little bit strange. Oh, we also see an Ood in there as well. The Ood and the Jadoon I can believe more, but yeah, the Cybermen's a bit more out there. But I do generally like it, and it's not a thing that's kind of rammed down our throat, and is a massive part of the episode. The Raven hunts you down and kills you when the chronolock runs out. So the whole episode is called Face the Raven, and that is because this chronolock thing, which Ashilda is kind of part of, it is a part of her. She puts the chronolock onto someone, and then this like tattoo around her neck kind of comes off her neck, turns into a raven bird, and then the bird comes around and kind of shoots itself into you and you die. And then the black mist comes out and goes back onto a shield again. So I think it's actually pretty creepy how it's just a raven that is essentially the villain of this story. Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite threatening and quite scary in a lot of ways, so I thought that was quite cool. Clara taking the chronolock from Rigsy. So this is the big moment. Rigsy's got the chronolock on him, they're running out of time, and Clara says, you know what, to give us a bit more time, give me the chronolock, and then, because at the start of the episode, basically the Doctor says to Ashilda, you will ensure the safety of Clara, you will not harm her, and Ashilda says, yep, 100% I will not harm her, no way I'm going to do that, you've got my word for it. So Clara kind of takes that and is like, well, if I take the chronolock off you, then she's sworn by her word that she's not going to harm me, so we'll all be good, right? But it doesn't really turn out to be that way. Basically, what ends up happening is that the chronolock can be passed on to someone else, but if it's passed on to someone else, then the host, I suppose, in Ashilda, the terms have now changed. She can't unlock the chronolock, basically, because now the terms are different. She's not in charge anymore, and there's nothing that she can do about it. So, yeah, once again, it was another one of these things where Clara's like, I know what I'm doing, I'm trying to be like the Doctor, save the world, buy us time, do this, do that, but bites her in the arse and ends up costing her a life. The Doctor going dark, knowing Clara will die, like I said before, probably one of my favourite parts of the episode. Peter Capaldi absolutely does a stellar job with the performance. He goes super duper dark on Ashilda, you know, when he's like, I will rain hell on you, and something about kill everyone, not kill everyone, but like rain hell on you and everybody you love. It's just, he goes super, super dark. And I mean, when the Doctor does that, sometimes I don't like it, but in this instance, in these circumstances, it works really well, and you can see the emotion on his face, and oh, it's just such an awesome, awesome moment. And then finally, Clara's death is surprisingly sad. That's actually not my last point, I've got one more after that, but yeah, like I said before, I don't really like Clara. She's one of my least favourite companions. Out of the main companions, at least for the new series, yeah, I'd say she's my least favourite, to be honest. But her death is really, really sad if we don't think about Hellbent. If this is her definitive death, then I think it's a perfect way to do it. And yeah, it's really emotional. I think, you know, the Doctor and Jenna Louise Coleman do... The Doctor, Peter Capaldi and Jenna Louise Coleman both do a brilliant job with the performances at the end, with all the emotions, especially Jenna. It's just really, really sad. And then finally, for my good points, we've got the Doctor actually loses. This is an episode where, yeah, the Doctor doesn't win, he doesn't save the day, he actually loses. Because ultimately, this thing with Rigsy, it was kind of a trap for the Doctor in the first place. This whole thing was Ashilda trying to get the Doctor to this place to unlock the woman that he supposedly killed, but she's actually not dead. It was all a trap, and he gets the teleportation bracelet put on him, and Ashilda sends him into the confession dial after a deal that she made with someone along the way in the past. It's all kind of a trick. There's not really a threat there at all. Ultimately, if Rigsy just kept the chronolock on, Clara didn't take it, then both of them would still be alive. They would then both be left on Earth, I presume, and the Doctor would still be sent off in the confession dial, but Clara would still be alive, and Rigsy as well. Ultimately, though, it goes even worse because Clara ends up dying, and the Doctor still gets sent off. So, it's a big loss for the Doctor in this one. Now, on to the bad. There's only one thing I really want to talk about with the bad, because I'm not bringing up the fact that this isn't actually Clara's death because of Hellbent, because that's not an issue with this story. That's an issue with Hellbent, so I'm not even going to have that in here. The only bad thing I do have to say, and maybe this can be clarified to me, maybe I just didn't pick up on it, but how does Clara taking the chronolock give them more time? So she says, oh, I'll take the chronolock off you because this will give us a bit more time. I don't understand how, because from what I remember, she takes it from him at about 12 minutes left or something. And as far as I know, switching it to someone doesn't change the time. Like, you give it to someone at 12 minutes, when you've got it, you're also going to have it at 12 minutes. So the time doesn't change from what I understand. I don't really understand how it gives them more time, personally. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a bit of a interesting thing that maybe I just didn't pick up on something, but yeah. So a rating out of 10. I'm going to give Face the Raven a 9 out of 10. I think this is a really good episode. It's one of my favourite episodes from Series 9. Doesn't get a 10 out of 10 because of that little nitpick, and generally I mean, it's just, although it has a lot of stuff going on in it, I don't think it's still a 10 out of 10 worthy story. Even if there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with it, you kind of probably understand how I feel. And also, even though I'm trying not to factor in Hellbent, it probably does just subconsciously in my mind have an effect on it. But looking at this episode standalone, I think it's actually really good. It's a great way for Clara to die. It would have been such an awesome ending for her, in my opinion. And such a dark ending as well. So yeah, a 9 out of 10 for Face the Raven. Anyway, let's go and see what episode we will be reviewing next time. Alright, so here we have the TARDIS of all the new series stories that we haven't reviewed so far. So we'll give it a little shake. They are all in here. Open it up from the bottom. Now if it's a 12th Doctor story, I will redraw it. Anything else, and we'll be going with it, because I just don't want to do back-to-back Doctors. So let's just reach in there. Let's go all the way to the bottom and grab this one right here. There we go. It is folded up. I don't know which way around. I think it's that way around. And our next episode we'll be reviewing is the Fires of Pompeii. Awesome. Really wanted a 10th Doctor or a 9th Doctor story, because we've done a lot of 11th and 12th Doctor ones lately. So the Fires of Pompeii, one of my favourite episodes actually, so it's going to be awesome to rewatch this one again for I don't know how many times. It's been many times that I've watched this. But yeah, that will be the next new series review. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.